Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for some red hot and ice cold Kings of War action. 1,800 points. Goblins versus the Empire of Dust. The Goblin King and his advisors were recently informed of the presence of an ancient passageway leading deep underground, so of course they were eager to explore it from their mountain homes, traipsing all the snow down there with them. Unbeknownst to them, miles away in the arid desert lands, the Pharaoh and his advisors heard of another ancient passage leading down into the same deep, dank underground temple full of slime and ancient ruins. And wouldn't you know it, they've walked right into each other with huge expeditionary forces. And there's nothing that causes seething hatred more than a chance encounter in dark, gloomy tunnels. So it's a fight to the death with the kill scenario. So let's see what we've got on the Empire of Dust side first of all, starting all the way on this flank.
So on the Empire of Dust right flank we have a horde of spearmen, skeleton spearmen. So they've got the phalanx special rule. And that's about it. No magical artifacts. Next to them, a reanimated behemoth. So a mighty hulking monster. So a few attacks, but a good high defense. Bit of a tank, really. Next to him, a horde of revenants. So this is revenant infantry. So we've swapped the shields out for sort of what you would call double-handed weapons. So they're crushing 1, but a lower defense down to 4. Behind is a cursed high priest, this little guy. So he's offering some inspiring, and he's also got the heal spell. Next to the horde is a pharaoh. So this pharaoh with the shield has got the wings of honey maze, so he can fly, and he's got his inspiring bubble. He's got regenerate. And he's quite a tough little cookie. Behind him slightly is a horde of spear skellies again. So second horde of them. So a lot of nerve, phalanx and a lot of attacks. Just in front, a regiment of mummies. So these guys are quite hard to shift. High defense, high nerve, regeneration. Hopefully just get stuck in and last. Next to them we have a horde of worm riders. So the fastest thing we've got, quite hard hitting, a lot of attacks, so hopefully they can get stuck straight in. Behind is another pharaoh, just offering some inspiring, nothing special on him, no artifacts. And then the last thing hiding on the left flank, behind this huge rock, is a bone giant. So random attacks, so a d6 plus 6 attacks, but reasonably hard when he hits. The whole army has got shambling pretty much apart from the pharaoh, so we're going to be fairly slow, but we've all got life leech as well to get a wound back in combat.
Well, let's see what the goblins are going to use to counteract this desert menace. Now, on the goblin side, as I go through this list, you will notice that there is an obscene amount of upgrades and magic items on as many units as can possibly take them. That's because I don't have enough goblin models yet to get up to the points level I want, so I'm just testing out the possibility of using a ridiculous number of items to boost them up a bit until I can get some more painted. So we'll see how that works for me. First things first, we have a regiment of spitters, and they have the heart-seeking chant, which will give their ranged attacks piercing. Next then we have a flag git on a fleabag rider, who has the diadem of dragonkind to give him a breath weapon, which should be quite tasty. Then we have a horde of sharp sticks with the brew of sharpness, quite appropriately, which will give them +1 to hit. Behind them a little bit, we have a whiz on a fleabag, and he has Wind Blast as a spell, and he also has Scarlet Moor's Fenulian Amulet, which will boost the power of his lightning bolt, which should be nice. As you can see, he is on fleabag. Then we have a giant, who has nothing special about him. And then we've got a king on a fleabag, and he has the Shard of Retribution. So he's a bit of a kamikaze character. If you kill him in close combat, then there's a good chance he'll explode on you, and you don't want that. Next to him is a Troll Bruiser with ensorcelled armour, so he is up to defence 6, which makes him quite a beast. War Trombone behind there, which is a recent addition to the army, providing some breath weaponry, defence against flyers and whatnot. Then we have a Troll Horde. These guys have Blessing of the Gods, so they are elite. Then we have a horde of Spitters with the Brew of Keen Eyeness, +1 to hit on their ranged attacks, so that's going to be quite tasty. Next to them we have a Mincer. Then we have a Wiz, just hiding behind them, lurking there on foot, with Bane Chant and the Inspiring Talisman. Then right on the end we have a regiment of Fleabag Riders who have the Brew of Strength, giving them crushing strength in addition to their thunderous charge. So we'll see how that goes. Very, very kitted out army. So we're going to get the roll off to see who gets choice of first turn. Right here, you can tell which dice is mine, surely, by now. It's the orange one. Right, so I've won the roll off. Now the question is, do I want to go first or second in the kill scenario? And you know what? I think I'm going to let the Empire of Dust go first. I'm not going to explain exactly why, because it's very, very sneaky, and my opponent is standing right there. So we'll get back to you after turn 1. Empire of Dust, turn 1. And you can tell what kind of seething hatred was bubbling up among the Pharaoh and his comrades, because he has ordered his troops to advance around about 1 inch forwards. So this Bone Giant moved the furthest out of everyone, but staying carefully out of charge range of the Fleabags and out of firing range of the Spitters. And the same can be said for this side as well, where the Skeleton Spearmen have stayed just out of range of these Spitters and their potential shooting ability. So he's basically sacrificing a turn to see what the Goblins do next, I think. So we'll get back to you after that. Maybe the next turn will be more eventful. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be a complete stalemate and I won't even bother uploading it. End of Goblin turn 1, and it was a little more eventful than the Empire of Dust. As you can see, the Fleabags and the Mincer have moved towards that Bone Giant, staying out of its charge range, but if it doesn't do something soon, then it will be in charge range of the Fleabags. So it's going to have to do something at least. You can also see it's taken 2 wounds as well. That was at the hands of these Spitters, this horde of them, in fact, that moved up just a little bit, so they were within range, and with the penalty for the slight movement they made, that was cancelled out by their +1 to hit from the Brew of Keen Eyeness, so they did get quite a few hits, enough to put 2 damage on him. Down here, all these guys moved up a little bit, including the War Trombone. Same for at this end, everything just edged forward slightly, and these Spitters moved up onto the wall so they could shoot the skeletons, but they only did 1 damage. So, a little bit of damage done. The first blood, well, I'm not sure any blood has been spilt, the first bone splinters have been spilt into this underground tunnel. So we'll see if the Empire of Dust are going to be a bit more aggressive in the next turn, now that they're firmly within shooting range. Empire of Dust turn 2. Slightly more eventful than their first turn. As you can see, the Bone Giant has decided he's going to lay down the gauntlet. He's moved to within his own charge range, but outside the range of the Mincer, so only the Fleabags could charge him if they wished. Everything else has come up quite a bit. The Mummies were surged, the Revenants were surged, so it's quite a solid line advancing towards the middle of the table. The skeletons at the back there still lingering behind, along with some of the characters. So, still a little bit of distance between the 2 armies as we head into Goblin turn 2. We're going to see if the Goblins are going to be a bit more aggressive or whether they're going to decide to hang back and do a bit more shooting. Goblin turn 2, and it's all getting rather heated now, even though it is quite frosty on those bases. Over at this side, the Fleabags decided now was the time and charged into the Bone Giant. They did 3 more damage on him, so he's up to 5 now. Not enough to worry him yet, but it could be significant. It's a start. The Mincer moved up a bit and tilted itself this way, not worried about any kind of charges coming in, because the Kamikaze King charged into this cavalry here, but didn't do any damage to them, but he's still a threat with that Pendant of Retribution sitting there. You'll notice the Mummies have taken 2 points of damage. That was from this unit down here, the Spitters. Oh, and it should also be noted that the Fleabags were Bane chanted when they fought the Giant as well. Over here, all these units have advanced up a little bit. The Trolls have put themselves within charge range of the cavalry, and out of charge range of the Mummies, just. the bruiser staying back a little bit, and the trombone and the giant have moved up a bit as well. This whiz moved up to within 18 inches of the revenants, so we could wind blast them and push them back 2 inches. And the spearmen, the sharp sticks should I say, moved up just a tad, and these spitters over here fired into the skeletons. 3 points of damage done. So it's heating up. We'll see what the Empire of Dust are going to do now. They've got goblins right in their faces. Empire of Dust turn 3. And it's all happening now. So over here, the giant, the bone giant, countercharged into the flea bags. Did 3 damage. Couldn't get enough to waver or rout them though. 1 off a waver. So over here though, this was the moment of the game so far. Because the Worm Riders countercharged the king. They did 13 damage on him. His nerve is 13 to completely remove him. However, they managed to conspire to roll a double 1. So the king with the exploding shard is just hanging in there, clinging to life, and I don't know what to say about that. It's very good strategically for me, I think, looking at the battlefield, but in some ways I wanted him to die and explode, because I'm eager to see how much damage that item's going to do. Over here, the mummies moved up a bit. All the characters converged on the centre, because they wanted to do some triple surge action to get these revenants into the giant, which they did. Unfortunately, due to being hindered by this terrain in the middle and some terrible dice rolling, they only got 1 damage on him, which is quite abysmal. Then over here, these units moved up as well, putting some serious pressure on the goblins, who will have to react now because that Behemoth has moved to within his own charge range of the goblin sharp sticks. So the goblin's going to hit back with Fury's Vengeance now, and I think it could be quite nasty for the Empire of Dust, assuming I don't roll terribly. Well, a very eventful goblin turn 3. Over here, the giant was combo charged by the mincer and the flea bags. He's up to 7 wounds, but I couldn't quite roll enough to get rid of him, so he's going to have another go to smash into my troops at least. This whiz here Bane chanted up this spitter horde, who then fired into the mummies and put more damage on them, so they're looking a little bit worse for wear. The king then charged into these Worm Riders and put 2 points of damage on them, so at the very least they'll lose their Thunderous Charge when they attack him in a minute, although he's already on double 1s, so it's not going to make that big of a difference. And then the main event was here in the middle. A quadruple charge onto the Revenant Horde with the giant in the front, Troll Bruiser and Troll Horde in the flank, and the Sharp Sticks in the other flank. And before we even got to roll for the Sharp Sticks, they were already way beyond the point of double 1-age. So they're gone. Lightly toasted. Over here, this whiz cast a lightning bolt, and this flag git used his breath attack, and this unit of spitters fired, all of them into this skeleton horde, so they're up to 10 damage points now. So it's quite interesting, this middle situation now, because the sharp sticks have pointed themselves that way to face that threat, and over here the trolls staring down the mummies, with the bruiser and the giant just tucked in behind there. So I'm not sure what the Empire of Dust are going to plan for this turn, but I think they're going to have to get aggressive and get some of these kill points back. Empire of Dust turn 4. So they actually got their first kill of the game. As you can see, the Worm Riders did manage to kill off the king, oddly enough. I thought he was going to live forever, that guy. But he did explode on them, which means that they're now up to 9 damage. So that's not healthy at all, and they're now staring down an awful lot of shooting units, ready for next turn. Over here, the Bone Giant did some more damage on the flea bags and did manage to waver them. So they're not going to be hitting him back. It's just the old mincer on his own for the moment. Down here, the mummies, as you can see, did 6 damage to the trolls, couldn't remove them. And this triple charge here of a Pharaoh, the Behemoth, and the Skeleton Horde, triple charge here into this Sharp Stick Horde, did 10 damage, but could not remove them, or waver them, in fact. The goblins are going to have to strike back now, since the first goblin blood has been spilt in this battle. They're not going to take that lying down, so let's see what I've got up my sleeve for turn 4 for the all goblins. Okay, goblin turn 4. Now over here, despite the fact that the flea bags were wavered, that didn't stop the Mincer for mincing into the giant and finishing him off. Plenty of attacks because it got him in the flank, as he was facing back towards these guys. So 1 billion attacks, 1 billion damage, off goes the giant. Here, the Wiz cast Bane Chant onto these spitters. So the huge amount of shots they managed to put into this unit that was here, the Worm Riders, was enough to remove them before I even had a chance to fire this War Trombone at them. So had they not been removed, I could have fired at them with that, but we didn't even bother wasting the time rolling because they were on double ones already, so off they went. Speaking of off they went, the mummies were double charged by the trolls and the giants. The giant rolled a 6 for his number of attacks, so that was nice. Lots of damage done on them, and they were gone as well. They were just out of inspiring range of all the various characters around here. The troll bruiser charged into the pharaoh, 3 damage on him, and not enough to worry him yet. The goblin sharpstick horde charged into the skeleton spearmen with a counter charge and did 8 more damage on them, and they were able to remove them despite the inspiring presence of these various pharaohs and so on. And the fact that they did that counter charge freed up the charge alleys for the other units to move off. For example, the giant was able to get out from behind them because of that, because they slid along. Down here, a lightning bolt from the Wiz, a breath attack from the flag git, and the shooting attack of this spitter unit who had to turn round, all just harmlessly pinged off the giant undead behemoth, so no damage on that despite all of those attempts. But still quite a productive turn, lots of kills, so the Empire of Dust are running out of units. There's nothing over there. They've got a skeleton horde, 3 characters in the middle here, and the behemoth. And I believe that's it, isn't it?
Sadly, yep.
So as we head into turn 5, it's not looking good for them at all, but there are some goblin units with significant damage on them. These spearmen and the trolls, who have ended up within charge range of that spear horde, so they're not out of it yet. They've still got a chance to get some killing done before the end of the game. Might be able to get within range of my score to stop it being an outright victory. We shall see. Empire of Dust turn 5. And not a whole lot of action, as you can imagine, because they don't have that much left. These skeletons charged into the trolls, put a bit of damage on them, but not enough to remove them. They were out of inspiring range, so that would have been a good opportunity to take them out, but they couldn't quite manage it. Although something was taken out here, because the giant undead behemoth and 2 pharaohs charged in and killed off the sharpstick horde. So a bit of triple charge action there, and then they've just rotated a bit. This guy's turned to face the bruiser, so he doesn't get flank charged by it. And that is pretty much it. There was lots of regen and life leech, so none of these guys are on any damage currently because of that. So all Empire of Dust units that are alive are completely unharmed right now. Same can't be said for the goblins, but I have a feeling could be about to inflict some serious harm onto that unit right now. Goblin turn 5. Not a lot of killing was achieved, but quite a bit of damage was dished out. So over here, the flea bags have turned round to get back towards the action. But this combat didn't go entirely as planned. The Mincer charging them in the flank didn't do as much damage as I anticipated, with the giant and the trolls as well, all striking at them. So I've now got those skeletons up to 13 damage, which was far less than I was hoping for with all these giant beasties attacking them. But maybe next time we'll get them. Over here, the troll bruiser charged into this pharaoh, and he put 4 points of damage on him, which is quite nice, but he might end up just regening and life leeching them, so it might be in vain. This behemoth has taken 5 damage points. That is because, first of all, this unit fired at him, but did nothing. The war trombone fired at him, and did at least 1 or 2 of those damage points. A lightning bolt from here, arrows from here, and a breath weapon from over there. All of them conspire to only do those 5 points of damage. So it's a start, but as you know, undead do have a habit of bringing back their damage points afterwards. So I'm not entirely confident right now because, as you can see, for a start the giant has his flank exposed, which with a bit of surging could lead to this guy getting in there. And the skeletons are still alive, so they're going to be countercharging somebody. So the undead, the Empire of Dust, could be killing a unit maybe, if they're nice and not horribly unlucky, like they have been for quite a bit of this game, in what could be their final turn. Empire of Dust turn 6, so potentially their last turn. And the Pharaoh countercharged the Troll Bruiser, did 1 point damage on him, so with that life leech got 1 back. The Behemoth, who was hanging around here, flank charged the giant, who was exposed after not finishing off the skeletons, who was joined by Pharaoh as well, and they did 6 points of damage on him, got him up to 7. Not enough, though. The same can be said for the trolls here against the skeleton spearmen. They got them up to 9 damage, but could only waver them after the reroll for them being inspired by Mr. Wiz down there with the inspiring talisman, so that really came in handy. So, potentially the final goblin turn now. We'll see what I can take out. Goblin turn 6. So, the giant and the mincer double charged the skeleton spear horde and did tons of damage on them and just obliterated them into a big pile of dusty old bones, so they're gone. And you'll notice the undead behemoth has gone as well. That's because, first of all, the Bane-chanted spitters fired at them, the war trombone, a lightning bolt, and a breath attack from him. All that combined did a few points of damage on him, and I rolled just enough to get rid of it. With 2 attempts, obviously, because of the inspiring there. So I had to do it twice, but he's gone. Over here, the Troll Bruiser did a couple more damage points onto the Pharaoh, but not enough to get rid of him. So, the Empire of Dust have 2 Pharaohs and a High Priest left, and that is it. Whereas the Goblins have only lost the Suicidal King and the Sharp Sticks at the moment. So we're going to have the roll to see if the game ends now. 1 to 3, the game is over. It is over. So, for once, I don't think we really need to do too many calculations to figure out the results of this one. Pharaoh, where did it all go wrong, do you think?
Everywhere. I think I set up slightly wrong. The Bone Giant, I think, was a stupid idea there. I think I should have had my Spearmen all at the front to absorb the charges. And then when I did get in combat, all the dice rolls went wrong for the first 2 turns. 1s and 2s. And then you played really well with a good Goblin army. So that was about it, really.
The king not dying right at the start.
That messed everything
up.
On
On the one hand, it was very, very fortunate. And then I was glad that I was able to immediately pounce on that opportunity because I knew that those really dangerous Worm Riders would be tied up for at least another turn, so I was able to take a lot more risks in the middle. If they'd been free without the king there blocking them, I wouldn't have been able to commit so much to killing off, for example, the Revenants in the middle. Might have survived because I wouldn't have been able to charge so many units at them with the risk of the Worm Riders nearby.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go, and then you wouldn't be able to spin everything round onto the Revenants because the Worm Riders would have got the flank charges on you. But that double 1 changes everything there. And then I needed the Bone Giant over here helping out, I think, really. I should have ignored the Fleabags.
Yeah, this is the first time the Mincer's done really well in a game. It actually did quite a lot of damage, and it didn't take any punishment back at all.
I mean, I usually take it out most games. I think this is the first game I've not killed it, I think.
It's the first time the Mincer has survived. The Troll Bruiser with that ensorcelled armour as well, giving him defence 6. You barely even paid attention to him because you just didn't think you'd be able to take him out, really, did you?
Yeah. I mean, normally this Empire Dust army with the giants, the behemoths, it's got a lot of crushing strength with the mummies, but you just hit me first every time. And I didn't really get much chance to do anything back. And then when I did, I got really low dice rolls. And then you just capitalised on that.
Yeah, this might be the first time the Goblins have won so decisively.
Yeah.
Because normally they draw for some reason. Against all the odds, they manage to pull out draws every time.
Mm.
And they've won a couple of close ones in the past, I think, but this is the first time they've really crushed anyone into the dust, as it were.
I think maybe if you were worried that you'd had to put expensive artifacts on your units because this is all you had to get the points up. But I think actually it's worked in your favour because Goblin units are perhaps cheaper to start with. So you can still get a lot of units out. You've still got a lot of units and then they're all buffed up with a really good artifact. So I think that's actually works quite well for the Goblins.
I've got a lot of specialist things as well, like the Giant, the Mincer, the Troll Bruiser, lots of casters, the War Trombone. So it's not bad. I would definitely like to have more units in the army, I just don't have enough painted yet. So when I've got maybe some Fleabag Sniffs done, maybe some other regular Goblins, I'll knock out a couple of the special items on the units. Because, for example, this unit of Spitters, them having an item on them just seems completely pointless. Because they still do next to nothing in the game. So it was handy to have all that shooting at the end and all the lightning bolts and the breath attacks, just to go around mopping things up right at the end. So I like the mobility of the characters on the flea bags as well.
Yeah, you had so many little things pumping out lots of shooting attacks. I couldn't get to them. I couldn't get to them all to do anything really.
Yeah, you had to put all your resources into just one big surge each turn, really, didn't you?
Yeah. I feel like the Empire Dust army needs like 5 or 6 surge casters, then you can really get your units into dangerous positions.
Either that or some more manoeuvrable units, maybe some more flyers or more cavalry. Because you only really had the Worm Riders and everything else was like painfully slow, wasn't it?
I'm the same as you though. That's all I've got really. Model wise, I don't have many of the other models, so kind of playing with what I've got really.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a tournament warm up. So I think when it comes to the tournament, though, it'll be 2,000 points. So I'll be adding another giant, which I'm painting at the moment. So I think that'll be nice. I'm not sure how it's going to do because there are units, like I was saying, that are overly expensive because of the upgrades on them. So we'll see. How do you feel going into a tournament with this Empire of Dust army? Do you think you learned enough from that game to use them wisely in the tournament?
Well, I played with this a few nights ago and I actually won quite well with it, so I was surprised at how badly it got beaten today. But so I'm just going to stick with it, and I think a lot's down to deployment as well, and manoeuvring, and just, a bit of lady luck, as they say. So hopefully it'll do a bit better. And I've also got another giant in my 2,000 point army as well. So that definitely helps, because usually I have the 2 giants helping out the hordes and the Worm Riders, and that can make a bit of a difference. So we'll see.
Well, on this night, the goblins in this chance encounter in the underground tunnels have reigned supreme. Snow triumphs over sand. So let's get the old left-handed handshake right there. The goblins countercharged into the skeleton spearmen, and they did an insane amount of damage. No, wait, I'll say that again because they only did 8.